Ever get that feeling like those marketing campaigns just know how to, like, push your buttons? You're
Yes.
scrolling through your feed, and then, bam, you've just clicked buy on something you didn't even know you needed.
Uh-huh.
That's the power of behavioral science in action.
It really is amazing how much psychology goes into those seemingly simple buy now buttons.
And that's exactly what we are diving into today in our deep dive. We've got excerpts from Kizzi Talks About Behavioral Science in Marketing. It's a guide that spills the secrets on how professionals are using these principles to get results.
Yeah.
Get ready to decode those marketing messages because we're about to reveal the tactics they don't want you to know.
Kizzy's book is it's full of real-world examples that really bring these concepts to life.
Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly is behavioral science? And why should we as consumers even care?
Well, behavioral science is all about understanding what makes people tick. Their motivations, their thought processes, the underlying reasons behind their choices.
So it's like peeking behind the curtain of the human mind.
Yeah.
But how does that relate to marketing?
Well, for marketers, it's like having a cheat sheet for human behavior. By understanding these principles, they can create campaigns that resonate with their target audience on a much deeper level.
That's a bit unnerving when you think about it. It's like, they're tapping into our subconscious desires.
In a way, yes, but, Kizzy really emphasizes that this knowledge can be used for good or for bad. It all comes down to the intentions of the marketer.
That makes sense. It's like, like any powerful tool, it can be used responsibly or irresponsibly. Speaking of influence, the book talks a lot about nudges. Can you explain what those are and how they actually work?
Well, you can think of a nudge as a gentle push in a certain direction. Just a subtle suggestion that guides your choice without limiting your freedom.
Okay.
For example, some online retailers use nudges to promote eco-friendly choices, like pre-selecting the option for sustainable packaging.
Oh, I've seen that. It makes it easier to make the good choice without feeling forced.
Exactly. And that's the power of nudges. They can be surprisingly effective in shaping our behavior without us even realizing it. Kizzy gives another example about how companies are using nudges to encourage people to save for retirement by automatically enrolling them in a savings plan.
Oh, that's a great example and makes it easier for people to do what they know they should be doing,
Yeah.
but, might procrastinate on.
Exactly, and that's what makes these nudges so effective. They remove the friction points and make it easier to follow through on our good intentions.
Okay, here's where it gets really juicy. The psychology of persuasion. Kizzy dives deep into Robert Cialdini's 6 principles of persuasion. These principles, like scarcity and social proof, really tap into those deeply ingrained human tendencies.
Oh, absolutely. Cialdini's work it's fundamental to understanding how persuasion works. Take scarcity, for example. You know how you see those limited time offer emails?
No, I get those all the time.
That's scarcity in action. Marketers are using your fear of missing out to try to drive action, making you feel like you have to act now or you'll miss out on a great deal.
Ugh, it's so sneaky, but it's so effective. I've definitely fallen for that tactic before.
Oh, we all have. And that's why it's so important to be aware of these tactics so we can make more conscious choices.
Okay, so scarcity is all about creating a sense of urgency. What about social proof? I feel like we see that everywhere these days.
Yeah, social proof is all about leveraging the power of the crowd. We're more likely to do something if we see that others are doing it too. Think about those online reviews or, testimonials.
Right, if a product has thousands of 5-star reviews, I'm much more likely to trust it.
Exactly. Marketers are using our natural tendency to follow the crowd to their advantage.
I'm starting to see marketing messages in a whole new light now. It's like a constant battle for our attention and our wallets.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's move on to something I find particularly fascinating: cognitive biases. These are like, those mental shortcuts our brains take that can sometimes lead us to irrational decisions.
Yeah.
Kizzy gives a whole bunch of examples.
Cognitive biases are everywhere, and marketers who understand them, they have a significant advantage. Kizzy uses a great example of how fashion brands use the availability bias to make their products seem more desirable.
Okay, break that down for me. What is the availability bias and how does it work in marketing?
Okay. Well, the availability bias is our tendency to overestimate the likelihood of events that are easily recalled. Think about celebrity endorsements in fashion.
Hmm.
We see a famous person wearing a certain brand, and suddenly that brand seems so much more desirable.
Ah, so it's like if Beyonce is wearing it, it must be cool.
Exactly. We associate the brand with the celebrity's positive attributes, even if those attributes have nothing to do with the product itself.
That's a bit manipulative, but I totally see how it works. What other biases do marketers use to their advantage?
Another one Kizzy highlights is the confirmation bias, which is our tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs. This is why targeting specific niche communities can be so effective.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, let's say you're marketing a new video game. If you target your ads to a specific gaming community that already loves similar games, you're much more likely to get positive responses. Your message will resonate with their existing beliefs and preferences.
So it's about preaching to the choir, so to speak.
Uh-huh.
Tailor your message to the values of the audience, and you're more likely to get buy-in.
Exactly. And Kizzy provides several other examples of cognitive biases in action, from the endowment effect to the framing effect.
Okay, so we've got the availability bias and the confirmation bias. What about the endowment effect? That sounds intriguing.
The endowment effect is the tendency to value things we own more highly than things we don't. This explains why limited edition merchandise, especially in the world of sports, is so effective.
Right. People go crazy for those limited edition jerseys or sneakers.
Owning that rare item makes you feel like you're part of an exclusive club, which increases its perceived value.
So it's not just about the product itself. It's about the feeling of exclusivity and belonging. What about the framing effect? Kizzy mentioned that one earlier.
Right, the framing effect is all about how the way information is presented can influence our choices.
Can you give me a concrete example?
Think about movie trailers. They use the framing effect masterfully. They carefully select scenes and music to build suspense and shape our expectations.
Hmm.
They're not lying about the movie, but they are strategically framing the information to make it more appealing.
So it's like they're setting the stage for a specific emotional response.
Exactly. And marketers use similar framing techniques to highlight the positive aspects of a product while downplaying any potential drawbacks.
It's all about controlling the narrative.
Interesting.
Now let's talk about something we all experience, the power of social influence. We're constantly bombarded with messages about what other people are doing, buying, thinking.
Mm-hmm. Social influence is a powerful force, and marketers know how to tap into it. Remember that classic scenario. You're looking for a restaurant, and you see two options. One's bustling with people, while the other is nearly empty.
I'd probably go for the crowded one. Seems like there's a reason everyone's there.
Exactly. That's social proof in action. We assume that the crowded restaurant must be better because, well, everyone else seems to think so.
So how do marketers use this principle to their advantage?
Oh, in countless ways. Think about those customers who bought this also bought recommendations you see online.
I see this all the time.
That's social proof, subtly nudging you towards a purchase by showing you what other people have chosen. They also use testimonials, case studies, influencer endorsements, anything that leverages our tendency to follow the crowd.
I'm starting to feel like I need to be more aware of these tactics.
Awareness is the first step to making more informed choices. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here today.
Well, so far you've definitely opened my eyes to these subtle ways marketers try to influence our behavior.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, before we dive into the next part of Kizzy's book, let's talk about something that impacts all of us pricing. It's not just about numbers, right? There's a whole psychology behind how prices are set and perceived.
Absolutely. Kizzy reveals the fascinating psychology behind pricing, how framing and context can drastically influence our perception of value.
Okay, give me some juicy examples. I'm ready to hear about the secret world of pricing psychology.
Okay, well, Kizzy tells a great story about Emily Johnson, a luxury handbag designer.
Okay.
Emily, she believed in the quality of her bags, but she was really hesitant to charge high prices. However, she discovered that by strategically placing a few ultra-expensive bags alongside her, regular line, the perceived value of the entire collection went up.
Wait, so by introducing a ridiculously expensive option, she made her regular prices seem more reasonable.
Exactly. It's a principle called anchoring. The first price we see acts as an anchor, influencing our judgment of subsequent prices.
So it's all about setting a high benchmark to make everything else seem like a better deal. That's brilliant. What other pricing secrets does she reveal?
Well, bundling is another powerful tactic. Package deals, they can feel like a better value, even if they cost more overall. It plays on our desire to get more for our money.
Ah, So instead of buying things individually, we're tempted by that package deal, even if we don't really need everything in it.
Exactly. Marketers know that bundling can make a product seem more attractive, even if it's not the most rational choice.
Wow, I'm starting to see how much psychology goes into these seemingly simple pricing decisions.
And we've only just begun to explore the fascinating world of pricing psychology.
Okay, this is all incredibly insightful, but it's a lot to digest. Before we get even deeper, let's take a quick break. Stay tuned, listeners, because when we come back, we're going to reveal even more marketing secrets from Kizzi Talks about behavioral science in marketing. Welcome back. We're digging deeper into Kizzi Talks about behavioral science and marketing, and I'm ready to have my mind blown wide open. We left off talking about the psychology of pricing, which was already pretty eye-opening.
Oh, pricing is just the tip of the iceberg. In this next section, Kizzi really dives into the deep stuff, like how companies are using behavioral science to understand our deepest desires and motivations.
Okay, this is getting a little Freudian. Tell me more.
Well, she kicks off with this idea of self-concept, which is essentially how we see ourselves, our values, beliefs, aspirations, and anxieties.
Okay.
Think of it as our internal brand identity.
So how does understanding our self-concept help marketers?
Well, because people are drawn to brands and products that align with their self-image, it's about creating that sense of this product gets me. It reflects who I am or who I aspire to be.
So if I see myself as like a health-conscious person, I'm more likely to buy organic food or fitness products.
Exactly. Marketers are trying to create a match between their brand and your self-concept. But it's not just about individual self-perception. Kizzi also talks about how social factors come into play. Family, friends, peers, even social media trends.
Right, we're not making these decisions in a vacuum. We're constantly being influenced by what other people are doing and thinking.
Precisely. Think about how many times you've bought something because a friend recommended it or because you saw it all over Instagram.
Oh, all the time, especially with clothes or beauty products. It's like, if everyone else loves it, maybe I should try it too.
That's social proof at work again, and marketers know this. They leverage influencer marketing, testimonials, social media buzz to tap into our desire to fit in and be part of that in crowd.
It's like they're creating a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. If you don't have this product, you're not part of the cool club.
Exactly. It's a powerful tactic, and it plays on our deep-seated need for belonging.
Okay, so we've talked about self-concept and social influence. What other mind-blowing insights does Kizzi reveal?
Well, she talks about motivation, understanding what drives people to take action. It's not enough to just present a product. Marketers need to understand what underlying needs it fulfills.
So it's about figuring out what makes people tick. What are their desires, fears, aspirations?
Exactly. Kizzi uses a great example of a businessman in Dubai who was trying to sell luxury watches. He learned the hard way that focusing solely on the features of the watches just wasn't enough.
So it wasn't about the craftsmanship or the precision of the movement.
Not entirely. He had to tap into the deeper motivations of his target audience, the desire for status, exclusivity, and success. Once he started framing the watches as symbols of achievement, well, his sales skyrocketed.
That's fascinating. It's not just about the product itself. It's about the emotional benefits that it represents.
Exactly. And Kizzi dives even deeper into the realm of perception, how our senses and past experiences shape how we view the world.
Okay, this is getting philosophical. How does perception play into marketing?
Well, perception is subjective. What one person perceives as high quality or desirable, another might see as completely different.
So a luxury car might symbolize success to one person, while another sees it as wasteful and impractical.
Exactly. And Kizzi emphasizes that marketers need to be aware of these different perceptions and tailor their messages accordingly.
It's like that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What appeals to one person might repel another.
Precisely. And perception isn't just about logic, it's also about emotions. A brand that evokes positive feelings, whether it's trust, excitement, or nostalgia, is more likely to be seen favorably.
So it's about creating a positive association with the brand so people feel good when they think about it.
Exactly. And this ties back to storytelling, creating memorable experiences, and appealing to those deep-seated emotional drivers that we talked about earlier.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. But how do companies actually gather data on consumer behavior? This is where it gets a little Big Brother-ish, doesn't it?
It can feel that way, but the methods they use are incredibly sophisticated. Gone are the days of simple surveys and, focus groups. Kizzi talks about a whole range of techniques, from in-depth interviews to social media monitoring.
So companies are watching our every move online, tracking our clicks, likes, purchases.
In many ways, yes. They're looking for patterns, trends, and insights that can help them refine their marketing strategies.
I guess it makes sense from a business perspective, but it's still a little unsettling.
It is, but the more we understand these tactics, the less susceptible we are to manipulation. Knowledge is power.
Okay, point taken. So what are some of the specific psychological principles that Kizzy reveals?
Well, she talks about the von Restorff effect, which states that things that stand out are more memorable. If you're presented with a list of similar items, the one that's different will stick in your mind.
Ah, so that's why that one weird ad in a sea of sameness always grabs my attention.
Exactly. And marketers use this to their advantage, whether it's through unique visuals, colors, slogans, or even unexpected product features.
So it's not just about being good, it's about being different. You have to stand out from the crowd.
Well said. And this ties into the broader concept of cognitive biases, which we touched on earlier.
Right, those mental shortcuts that can sometimes lead us astray.
Kizzy provides some additional examples, like the anchoring effect, where the first piece of information we receive influences our subsequent judgments.
Ah, so that's why that original price slashed out on a sale tag makes the discounted price seem like such a steal.
Precisely. That high original price sets an anchor, making the sale price seem much more appealing. It's a classic pricing tactic.
Wow, I'm starting to feel like a marketing expert myself. What other cognitive biases does Kitsy highlight?
Well, she talks about cognitive dissonance, which is the discomfort we feel when our beliefs and actions don't align.
Oh, I know that feeling. Like when I buy something I know I shouldn't, and then I spend the next week justifying it to myself.
Exactly. And marketers can leverage this dissonance by, for example, offering post-purchase reassurance. Think about those emails you get after buying something online that say, "Thanks for your purchase, you made a great choice."
Right, it's like they're trying to ease our guilt and reinforce that idea that we made the right decision.
Precisely. It's all about making us feel good about our purchases, even if they weren't entirely rational.
Okay, so we've got the von Restorff effect, anchoring cognitive dissonance. What other marketing secrets does Kizzy reveal?
Well, she talks about salience, making something stand out from its surroundings.
We already touched on that with the von Restorff effect, right?
Yeah.
But salient seems broader than that.
It is. It's about capturing attention, whether it's through visual cues, strategic placement, or even using sensory triggers.
So think bright colors, catchy slogans, or even that irresistible smell of freshly baked bread wafting from a bakery.
Precisely. And salience ties into another principle Kizzy discusses, the mere exposure effect.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me about the mere exposure effect.
This one is simple but powerful. The more we're exposed to something, the more we tend to like it.
So that's why that annoying jingle gets stuck in my head and suddenly I find myself humming it at the grocery store.
Exactly. Repeated exposure breeds familiarity, which can lead to preference, even if we weren't consciously aware of it at first.
Wow, that's sneaky. Marketers are playing the long game here.
They are. They know that even if we don't buy something right away, that repeated exposure can plant a seed in our minds.
So it's not just about the big, flashy campaigns. It's also about those subtle, repeated messages that seep into our subconscious.
Well said. And this ties into Kitsy's discussion of emotional contagion, the idea that emotions can spread from person to person.
Oh, like when you see someone laughing uncontrollably, and suddenly you start laughing too, even if you don't know what's funny.
Exactly. And marketers can leverage this by creating content that evokes strong emotions, whether it's joy, excitement, or even sadness.
So think heartwarming commercials that make you cry, or funny ads that you share with your friends.
Precisely. It's all about creating an emotional experience that people will connect with and want to share.
Okay, this is all starting to feel very meta. Marketers are creating emotions that then become contagious and spread their message even further.
That's the power of behavioral science. It's not just about individual psychology. It's also about understanding social dynamics, how emotions and behaviors spread through networks.
So we're all connected in this web of influence.
And marketers are weaving their messages into the fabric of that web.
All right, that's enough conspiracy theories for one day. Let's move on to something a little more concrete. Kitsy talks about the psychology of persuasion. I feel like we could all use a little help in that department, right?
Absolutely. And Kizzy actually revisits the work of Robert Cialdini and his 6 principles of persuasion, which we touched on earlier.
Right, those were Reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, and consensus. Can you give me a quick refresher on how those play into marketing?
Sure. Reciprocity is all about that give and take, offering free trials or gifts to create a sense of obligation. Scarcity is about highlighting those limited time offers or exclusive products to increase perceived value.
Okay, those make sense. What about authority? How do marketers use that to their advantage?
Think celebrity endorsements or expert testimonials. We're much more likely to trust a message if it comes from someone we perceive as, credible or knowledgeable.
So it's not just about what's being said, it's about who is saying it.
Exactly. And consistency taps into our desire to be consistent with our past actions and beliefs. This is why getting a small commitment early on can increase the likelihood of a larger commitment later.
Ah, the classic foot in the door technique. Get them to say yes to something small, and it's harder to say no later on.
Precisely. Liking is pretty straightforward. We're more likely to be persuaded by people we like. This is why building rapport and creating a positive brand image is so important.
So it's not just about the product, it's about the overall vibe and personality of the brand. Do I like these people? Do I trust them?
Exactly. And finally, consensus, also known as social proof, is all about leveraging the power of the crowd.
Right. If everyone else is doing it, it must be good.
Kizzi emphasizes that understanding these principles can help us craft more persuasive messages, whether we're selling a product or just, trying to win an argument.
Hmm. Okay, I'm starting to feel like I could be a master manipulator. But it's important to use these powers for good, right?
Absolutely. Kizzi stresses the importance of using these principles ethically. Persuasion shouldn't be about trickery or deception. It's about understanding how to effectively communicate your message and build genuine connections.
Okay, good point. It's a powerful tool, but it should be used responsibly. So how can we use these principles to craft more persuasive messages?
Well, Kizzi provides some great advice on that. First and foremost, she emphasizes the importance of understanding your audience, their needs, motivations, and pain points.
Right. We've already established that. It's not about you, it's about them.
Exactly. And once you understand your audience, you can tailor your message to resonate with their specific desires. She also talks about using strong calls to action, clear and concise instructions on what you want the reader to do.
So instead of just talking about your product, you tell them explicitly, buy now, or sign up for our newsletter.
Precisely. And she emphasizes the importance of creating a sense of urgency using phrases like limited time offer or don't miss out.
Ah, that fear of missing out again. It's a powerful motivator.
It is. And Kizzi talks about the importance of using social proof, which we've already discussed extensively.
Right. Testimonials, reviews, influencer endorsements.
Yeah.
It all plays into that desire to follow the crowd.
Exactly. And she also mentions the importance of appealing to emotions, which we've also covered in depth.
So use storytelling, evoke feelings of joy or nostalgia, or even tap into fears and anxieties, all in a responsible and ethical way, of course.
Precisely. Kizzi emphasizes that the most effective persuasive messages combine all of these techniques.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. It's like a recipe for persuasion. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, all blended together to create a delicious and irresistible message.
Well said. And speaking of recipes, Kizzi goes on to discuss the role of perception in marketing.
We touched on this earlier, but I'm eager to dive deeper. It's such a fascinating concept.
It is. And Kizzi emphasizes that perception is subjective. What one person perceives as valuable or desirable, another might see as completely different.
So a luxury car might represent success and status to one person, while another sees it as wasteful and ostentatious.
Exactly. And Kizzi highlights the importance of understanding the target audience's perceptions and tailoring your messaging accordingly.
So you can't just assume everyone sees the world the same way you do. You have to consider their values, experiences, and cultural background.
Precisely. And perception isn't just about logic, it's also about emotions. A brand that evokes positive feelings is more likely to be seen favorably.
So it's not just about what you're selling. It's about the overall feeling you create around your brand.
Precisely. And this ties back to storytelling, creating memorable experiences, and appealing to those deep-seated emotional drivers we talked about earlier.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. But it's clear that visual and auditory cues play a big role in shaping our perceptions.
Absolutely. Kizzi talks about the importance of visual and auditory cues in shaping how we perceive a product or brand.
So think colors, typography, music. All those sensory elements that create an overall impression.
Exactly. She even shares an anecdote about a small bakery that struggled to attract customers until they simply repositioned their signboard to face oncoming traffic.
Wait, so just changing the angle of the sign made a difference?
It did. It made the bakery more visible and changed how potential customers perceived it.
That's incredible. It shows how even small details can have a big impact on perception. So what are some other tips Kitsy offers on using design and visual elements to influence perception?
Well, first and foremost, she emphasizes the importance of using color strategically.
Right. Certain colors evoke certain emotions and associations.
Exactly. Red is associated with excitement and urgency, blue with trust and professionalism. You want to choose colors that align with your brand's personality and message.
Okay, so color is key. What else?
Well, she talks about prioritizing readability, using legible fonts, appropriate font sizes, and ample white space.
So no matter how fancy your design is, it needs to be easy to read and understand.
Exactly. She also stresses the importance of using images strategically.
Right. Visuals are powerful, but they need to be relevant to your message and brand.
Precisely. And she talks about being consistent with your design elements across all your marketing materials.
So create a cohesive visual identity that reinforces your brand message.
Exactly. And finally, she encourages marketers to test and refine their design elements to see what works best.
So it's not just about following the rules, it's about experimenting and seeing what resonates with your audience.
Well said. And Kizzy brings up another fascinating psychological principle, the Zeigarnik effect.
Okay, another intriguing sounding effect. What's that one all about?
This one is all about the power of incompleteness. People are more likely to remember tasks they've started but haven't finished.
Ah, so that's why that abandoned online shopping cart keeps haunting me. I feel compelled to go back and finish the purchase.
Exactly. And marketers use this to their advantage, sending those reminder emails about items left in your cart, or by creating a sense of anticipation for an upcoming product launch.
So it's about creating a sense of intrigue and making people feel like they need to complete the action.
Precisely. And this ties into the broader principle of gamification, which we'll discuss a bit later.
Okay, hold that thought. What other psychological tricks does Kizzy reveal?
Well, she talks about the information gap theory, which suggests that people are motivated to seek out information to fill gaps in their knowledge.
So if you pique their curiosity, they'll be more likely to engage with your content.
Exactly. Kizzy gives the example of teaser campaigns, revealing just enough information to create intrigue, but leaving people wanting more.
Ah, so think movie trailers that hint at the plot but don't give away the ending.
Precisely. And this information gap can be used in all sorts of marketing contexts, from product launches to social media posts.
Okay, so create a sense of mystery and people will come running. What else does Kizzy have up her sleeve?
She talks about autonomy bias, which is our deep-seated need to feel in control of our decisions.
Okay, this one feels particularly relevant in today's world where we're bombarded with choices and information.
It is. And Kitsy argues that marketers can leverage this bias by offering choices, customization options, and a sense of agency.
So instead of dictating what people should do, you give them options and let them feel like they're in the driver's seat.
Exactly. Think about the rise of personalized products and services. It's all about giving people the power to tailor their experiences to their individual needs and preferences.
Okay, so autonomy is key. What else?
Well, Kizzy talks about automatic compliance triggers, those psychological cues that nudge us towards a specific action without conscious thought.
Okay, this sounds a little manipulative.
It can be, but it can also be used for good. Kitsy gives examples like using reciprocity, offering something of value upfront to encourage a desired action in return.
So think free samples or exclusive content in exchange for an email address.
Exactly. And she talks about using scarcity, creating that sense of urgency to prompt immediate action.
Right, limited time offers, limited quantities, all those tactics that make us feel like we need to act now.
Precisely. And Kizzy emphasizes that while these triggers can be effective, it's crucial to use them ethically and transparently.
So don't be sneaky or deceptive. Let people know what you're doing and why.
Right. It's about building trust, not tricking people into doing what you want.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I have a whole new arsenal of marketing techniques at my disposal.
But remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand these tactics, the more we can make informed choices as consumers.
Well said. Now, we've talked a lot about the psychology behind marketing, but what about the practical side of things? How do companies actually put these principles into action?
That's a great question. Kizzi dedicates a significant portion of her book to specific marketing strategies, including a deep dive into the world of pricing.
Okay, let's talk pricing. We already touched on the psychology behind it earlier, but I'm ready to hear about the nitty-gritty of how businesses actually set their prices.
Oh, it's more complicated than you might think. It's not just about covering costs. It's about understanding how people perceive value.
Right, a $5 cup of coffee might seem expensive at a gas station, but completely reasonable at a fancy coffee shop.
Exactly. Kitty tells that story about Emily Johnson, the luxury handbag designer we mentioned earlier. Emily learned the hard way that pricing isn't just about numbers, it's about crafting a perception of value.
Remind me about Emily's pricing experiment. I remember it was pretty clever.
Emily was initially hesitant to charge high prices for her bags, even though she knew they were, high quality. But she discovered that by strategically placing a few ultra-expensive bags alongside her regular line, well, the perceived value of her entire collection went up.
Ah, right. By setting a high anchor with those expensive bags, her more moderately priced bags suddenly seemed like a steal.
Exactly. And Kizzy explains how this principle, called anchoring, is used in all sorts of pricing strategies.
Okay, so anchoring is about setting a high benchmark. What other pricing tactics do companies use?
Well, Kizzy also talks about the decoy effect, which is a sneaky but effective way to nudge people towards a specific choice.
Okay, I'm sensing a pattern here.
Mm.
Another psychological effect with a fancy name. What is the decoy effect all about?
It's about presenting a less appealing option to make the target option seem more desirable. Imagine you're at the movie theater and they're selling popcorn in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
The small is a decent price, but the large is ridiculously expensive. They've added that large size as a decoy to make the medium size seem like the best deal.
Oh, that's sneaky, but I totally see how it works.
It's all about playing with our perceptions of value. And Kizzy explains how this tactic is used in all sorts of contexts, from pricing products to presenting choices on a menu.
Okay, I need to start paying closer attention to uh, how these pricing tactics are used.
Awareness is key. Once you understand these principles, you'll start seeing them everywhere.
This is all incredibly insightful. But before we get too carried away with pricing strategies, let's talk about another concept Kizzy explores in depth: nudging for behavior change.
Nudging is all about influencing behavior in a positive way without limiting freedom of choice.
Okay, we've touched on this before, but I'm eager to hear more about how it's specifically used for behavior change.
Well, Kizzy starts by defining nudging as influencing people's decisions without restricting their freedom of choice.
So it's about gently guiding people towards a desired outcome, like making healthier choices or saving more money.
Exactly. And she highlights a fascinating official report on nudging called EAST: 4 Simple Ways to Apply Behavioral Insights.
Okay, that sounds intriguing. What are the 4 principles outlined in that report?
The report suggests making the desired behavior easy, attractive, social, and timely.
Okay, that makes sense. Make it easy to do, make it appealing, make it something people want to do with their friends, and make it relevant to their current situation.
Precisely. And Kissy gives a range of examples of how these principles are used in practice, from encouraging organ donation to promoting eco-friendly behaviors.
So think default options, social norms messaging, and even strategically placed recycling bins.
Exactly. And Kizzy emphasizes that nudging isn't about manipulation, it's about making it easier for people to make choices that are in their best interest.
Okay, so it's like a little nudge in the right direction, but ultimately the choice is still theirs.
Precisely. And Kizzy goes on to provide a whole set of guidelines on how to design effective nudges.
Okay, I'm ready for a nudging masterclass. Give me the key takeaways.
Well, first and foremost, she emphasizes the importance of understanding your target audience, their values, motivations, and barriers to change.
Right, we've established that's key to any successful marketing strategy. What else?
Well, she talks about making the desired behavior as easy as possible, removing friction points, and simplifying choices.
So think clear instructions, intuitive design, and streamlined processes.
Exactly. And she stresses the importance of making the desired behavior attractive, highlighting the benefits and rewards.
So instead of just focusing on the negative consequences of not changing, you also emphasize the positive outcomes of making the change.
Precisely. And she talks about leveraging social influence, showing how others are already engaging in the desired behavior.
Right. Social proof is a powerful motivator. If everything else is doing it, I'm more likely to do it too.
Exactly. And finally, she emphasizes the importance of making the nudge timely and relevant to the individual's current situation.
So think personalized messages, targeted offers and nudges that are delivered at the right moment.
Precisely. And Kizzi provides a range of real-world examples of effective nudges, from increasing retirement savings to promoting healthier eating habits.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential of nudging. It's a subtle but powerful way to influence behavior for the better.
It is. And Kizzi has a whole chapter dedicated to applying behavioral science specifically to digital marketing.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The online world is it's a breeding ground for these psychological tactics, isn't it?
You're not wrong. And Kizzi starts by highlighting how digital marketing is uniquely positioned to leverage behavioral science because of the sheer amount of data that's collected.
Right. Every click, like purchase and search, is tracked and analyzed.
Exactly. And this data allows for incredibly personalized marketing experiences.
So think targeted ads, personalized recommendations, and even dynamic pricing that adjusts based on your browsing history.
Precisely. Kizzi gives examples like Netflix recommendations, Amazon's customers who bought this also bought, and Spotify's Discover Weekly feature.
Those are all great examples. They feel personalized and helpful, but they're also subtly influencing our choices.
Exactly. And Kizzi emphasizes that while this level of personalization can be beneficial, it also raises some concerns about privacy and data security.
Right. It's a delicate balance. We want a personalized experience, but we also don't want to feel like our every move is being tracked and manipulated.
Exactly. Kizzi offers some insights on how companies can use behavioral science to create more engaging and effective digital marketing campaigns.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me the digital marketing secrets.
Well, she starts by highlighting the importance of understanding the customer journey, the steps a customer takes from initial awareness to purchase.
So you need to know what motivates people at each stage of the journey and tailor your messages accordingly.
Exactly. And she talks about using behavioral science principles to optimize each stage of the journey.
So think using social proof to build trust in the awareness stage, leveraging scarcity to create urgency in the consideration stage, and using personalization to encourage conversion.
Precisely. And Kizzi provides a range of examples of successful digital marketing campaigns that have used these principles effectively.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential of behavioral science in the digital world.
It's a powerful tool, and she dives deeper into specific digital marketing tactics, like the use of social media and gamification.
Oh, social media is a no-brainer. It's all about leveraging social influence, right?
Exactly. Kizzi talks about using social media to build brand awareness, foster relationships with customers, and drive sales.
So think engaging content, influencer marketing, and social media advertising.
Precisely. And she also discusses the potential downsides of social media, like the difficulty of controlling negative reviews or comments.
Right. It's a double-edged sword. You have to be prepared to manage both the positive and negative aspects of social media.
Exactly. And then she goes on to talk about gamification, which is using game-like elements to make marketing more engaging.
So think points, rewards, badges, leaderboards, all those things that make us want to keep playing.
Precisely. Kizzi gives examples like loyalty programs and interactive quizzes.
Okay, those are good examples. They make marketing more fun and engaging, which can lead to increased brand loyalty and customer engagement.
Exactly. But Kizzi also cautions against overusing gamification or making it feel forced or gimmicky.
Right, it needs to feel authentic and aligned with the brand's values.
Well, Kizzi provides a ton of examples of successful digital marketing campaigns that have leveraged these principles, but for the sake of time, let's move on to Kizzi's insights on how companies use behavioral science to create those exceptional customer experiences.
Okay, I'm ready to hear about how we can all become customer experience rock stars.
Well, Kizzi emphasizes that creating exceptional customer experiences goes beyond just providing a good product or service.
So it's not enough to just have a great product. What else is there?
It's about understanding the customer's journey and using behavioral science to make each touch point as positive and memorable as possible.
So you need to consider the entire experience from start to finish.
Exactly. And remember that quote from Daniel Kahneman we mentioned earlier. Customers will judge an experience by the way it ends, not by the total experience.
Yeah, that's so true. A bad ending can completely ruin even the best experience.
Precisely. So companies need to pay close attention to those final touch points, the checkout process, the delivery experience, and the follow-up communication.
Okay, so it's about making sure that last impression is a positive one.
Exactly. And Kizzi talks about using behavioral science principles to optimize each stage of that journey, from initial awareness to post-purchase engagement.
Okay, so think personalized recommendations, loyalty programs, and even strategically timed follow-up emails.
Precisely. And she emphasizes the importance of emotional intelligence in creating those positive customer experiences.
Right, it's not just about logic and efficiency. It's about understanding and responding to customers' emotions.
Exactly. Kizzi even quotes Maya Angelou. Customers may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
That's a powerful reminder. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you make people feel.
Exactly. And Kizzi provides some great real-world examples of companies that have successfully used behavioral science to create those customer-centric experiences.
Okay, I'm ready for some inspiration. Give me those success stories.
Well, she starts with Amazon, which, as we mentioned earlier, uses a range of behavioral science tactics to create a seamless and personalized shopping
Oh,
experience.
Amazon is the master of this. Think personalized recommendations, one-click ordering, and even anticipatory shipping.
They're constantly using data and behavioral insights to anticipate customer needs and make the shopping experience as frictionless as possible.
Okay, what other companies does she highlight?
Well, she talks about Apple, which is known for its intuitive and user-friendly products.
Apple products just seem to get me. They're so easy to use, even for someone like me who's not, you know, super tech savvy.
Exactly, and that's no accident. Apple has invested heavily in user experience research and design, using behavioral science principles to create products that are both functional and emotionally appealing.
Okay, so Amazon and Apple are setting the gold standard. What else?
Well, she talks about Starbucks, which has created a
Welcome back, listeners. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Kizzy Talks about behavioral science and marketing. And so far, we've uncovered a whole treasure trove of marketing secrets, from the psychology of pricing to the power of nudging. So where are we headed in this final stretch?
well, we're moving from the tactics to the big picture, like how to apply behavioral science to create those, exceptional customer experiences that build loyalty and keep people coming back for more.
Okay, I love that. It's not just about getting that initial sale. It's about, creating that lasting positive impression.
Exactly. And Kizzy really emphasizes that creating exceptional customer experiences, it goes beyond just providing a good product or service.
So it's not enough to just have a fantastic product. What else is there?
It's about understanding the customer's journey and using behavioral science to make each touch point as positive and memorable as possible.
So you need to consider the entire experience from the moment a customer first hears about your brand to long after they've made a purchase.
Exactly. And remember that quote from Daniel Kahneman we mentioned earlier? Customers will judge an experience by the way it ends, not by the total experience.
Oh, that's so true. A bad ending can completely ruin even the best experience.
Precisely. So companies need to pay close attention to those final touch points, the checkout process, the delivery experience, the follow-up communication.
Make sure that final impression is a positive one. Got it.
Exactly. And Kizzy talks about using behavioral science principles to optimize each stage of that journey from, initial awareness to post-purchase engagement.
Okay, so think personalized recommendations, loyalty programs,
Yeah.
and even those strategically timed follow-up emails.
Precisely. And she also highlights the importance of emotional intelligence in, creating positive customer experiences.
Well, it's not just about logic and efficiency.
Mm.
It's about understanding and responding to customers' emotions.
Exactly. Kizzy even quotes Maya Angelou. She says, customers may forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
That's a powerful reminder. It's not just about what you do, it's about how you make people feel.
Exactly. And Kizzy provides some great real-world examples of companies that have successfully used behavioral science to create, customer-centric experiences.
Okay, I'm ready for some inspiration.
Oh.
Give me those success stories.
Okay, well, she starts with Amazon, which, as we mentioned earlier, uses a range of behavioral science tactics to create a seamless and, personalized shopping experience.
Oh, Amazon is the master of this. Think personalized recommendations, one-click ordering, and even anticipatory shipping.
It seems like they're reading our minds. They're constantly using data and behavioral insights to anticipate customer needs and make the shopping experience as frictionless as possible.
Yeah, it's almost creepy how well they know what I want before I even know it myself. So what other companies are, nailing the customer experience?
Well, she talks about Apple, which is known for its, intuitive and user-friendly products.
Apple products just seem to get me. They're so easy to use, even for someone like me who's not super tech savvy.
Exactly. And that's no accident. Apple has invested heavily in user experience research and design, using behavioral science principles to create products that are both functional and emotionally appealing.
Okay, so Amazon and Apple are setting the gold standard. What else?
She talks about Starbucks, which has created a highly personalized and emotionally engaging coffee experience.
Ah, Starbucks. It's more than just grabbing a cup of coffee. It's a whole experience.
Exactly. Think about that welcoming atmosphere, the friendly baristas who remember your order, and the rewards program that keeps you coming back for more.
Starbucks just knows how to create that sense of community and belonging. It's like a home away from home for so many people. But you mentioned that Kizzi doesn't shy away from the ethical considerations of using behavioral science in marketing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's an important discussion. She dedicates a whole section to, exploring the potential downsides and challenges.
Okay, let's dive into the dark side of behavioral science. What are some potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
Well, one of the main concerns is the possibility of manipulation.
Right, we've talked about that fine line between persuasion and manipulation throughout this whole deep dive.
Exactly. And Kizzi stresses that marketers, they need to be transparent about their use of behavioral science tactics and avoid using them to deceive or mislead consumers.
So no subliminal messaging or sneaky psychological tricks.
Right. Consumers should always be aware of how these tactics are being used and, have the ability to make informed choices. Kizzi also talks about the importance of respecting consumer privacy.
That's huge in today's data-driven world. Companies have access to so much information about us. It's crucial that they use it responsibly and ethically.
Yeah. Kizzi argues that consumers should have control over their data and be fully informed about how it's being used. Transparency and consent are essential.
Okay, so transparency, consumer control, no manipulation. What other ethical considerations are there?
Well, Kizzi also highlights the potential for unintended consequences. Even a well-intentioned nudge, it could have unforeseen negative side effects.
So even if you're trying to do good, you could accidentally end up doing harm.
Exactly. Marketers need to carefully consider the potential downsides of their tactics and be prepared to adjust their, approach if needed.
So it's not just about short-term gains. It's about that, the long-term impact on consumers and society as a whole.
Precisely. Ethical marketing is about doing what's right, not just what's profitable.
So it's about values, not just tactics.
Exactly. Kizzi provides a whole set of guidelines for ethical marketing practices. She starts with transparency, being honest about what you're doing and why. Then she emphasizes respecting consumer autonomy, giving people the freedom to make their own choices without being manipulated.
It seems like a lot of these ethical considerations just come down to, treating people with respect, don't be sneaky, be upfront about your intentions, and let people decide for themselves.
Exactly. Kizzi also stresses the importance of protecting consumer privacy. Treat data with respect and don't use it in a way that violates people's trust.
Okay, so transparency, autonomy, privacy. What other ethical guidelines does she suggest?
Well, she talks about being mindful of vulnerable populations and avoiding exploiting people who, might be more susceptible to manipulation.
So don't take advantage of people who might not fully understand the tactics being used.
Right. It's about using these powerful tools responsibly. She also emphasizes, being honest and truthful in your marketing messages.
So no false or misleading claims.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, don't be a jerk.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And finally, she talks about, upholding social responsibility, considering the broader impact of your marketing on society and the environment.
So it's not just about making a profit. It's about contributing to a better world.
Exactly. It's about doing well by doing good.
I love that. Okay, I'm feeling inspired to be a more ethical marketer, at least a more aware consumer. What else does Kizzi, cover in this final section of her book?
Well, she also provides some great advice on how to apply behavioral science to product design, branding, and, market segmentation.
Wow, we could do a whole other deep dive on just those topics, but I know we're running short on time.
We are. But I think we've covered the key takeaways from Kizzi's book. The main thing to remember is this. Behavioral science offers a really powerful set of tools for marketers, but it's crucial to use those tools responsibly and ethically.
Well said. Now, Kizzi ends her book with a glossary of key terms and concepts. Let's do a quick rundown of some of those highlights before we wrap things up.
Oh, great idea. The glossary is a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to dive deeper into this fascinating world.
Okay, let's hear it. What are some of the most important terms that we should know?
Well, she starts with the affect heuristic, which refers to how our emotions influence our, decision making.
Right, we talked about that quite a bit. Emotions are powerful drivers of behavior.
Exactly. Then she defines behavioral economics, which is the study of how psychological factors influence our economic decisions.
So it's about understanding that we're not always these, rational actors in the marketplace. Our emotions, biases, and social influences play a huge role.
Exactly. She also defines cognitive dissonance, that discomfort we feel when our beliefs and actions don't align.
Right, like when we buy something we know we shouldn't have, and then we spend the next week convincing ourselves it was a good purchase.
Exactly. And she goes on to define a whole range of other terms, from decision heuristics to the Zeigarnik effect. It's a treasure trove of behavioral science insights.
It sounds like Kizzi has provided us with like a crash course in understanding those hidden forces that shape our behavior as consumers. This has been an incredible deep dive. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I think Kizzy's book offers a really fascinating look at the intersection of psychology and marketing. It's a must-read for anyone who wants to understand how our minds work and how those insights can be used to influence our behavior.
I completely agree. I know I'll never look at a marketing message the same way again. I'll be on the lookout for those, sneaky nudges and persuasive tactics.
That's the spirit. Awareness is the first step to making more informed choices.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Kizzi Talks about behavioral science and marketing, listeners. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the fascinating world of consumer psychology. Until next time, stay curious.